Welcome to yet another episode of The Big Talk with myself, Marvelous Tinevimbo Chibagidi. And today I'm joined by Morgan Komichi. You know, I've always have a problem with saying people's last names. You know, sometimes people say, no, it's not Shona. And maybe there's a certain Shona dialect to the last name. So is Komichi the right way of saying? I'm getting an A+. I'm getting an A+. So today with Morgan Komichi, who's been in the political arena for a while, maybe as long as I've been on this earth. That's how long he's been in the political game, from the days of the late comrade Robert Gabriel Mugabe, but he's still there. And on the road to August 2023, he's also eyeing victory with his party. Thank you very much, Mr. Komichi, for joining us today on The Big Talk.
No, thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you. And we know you're busy people, so we really appreciate you taking time from your schedule and to talk to us and to talk to Zimbabweans and the rest of the world. And please, if you've got any questions, any comments to Morgan Komichi, be sure to put it in our comment section at Citizens Voice Network, on our Facebook, on our Instagram, on our Twitter, and on our YouTube too. Just put on all digital platforms. Please do put in your comments or your questions to him. And so my first question, for you is, this is the road to 2023, and we know there was disruption with the opposition around 2019-2020 period. There was disruption with the opposition. So my very first question is, Senator Komichi, are you still a part of the MDC led by Senator Monzora?
I am no longer a part of the MDC led by Senator Monzora. Actually, I never attended these meetings from December. So I parted ways with him in December when he failed to run a national congress for the MDC. I think there's been a lot of media noise all over from my friend Marara and my friend Elias Mzuri taking him to court. They were correct, and they are still correct. The National Congress that was run in December was a bogus one.
Okay.
I witnessed through and through, and I got evidence on what I saw was wrong throughout the whole process. So definitely the Congress was bogusly done, and I parted ways with him, and I never attended these meetings. So 14 June was just the D-Day, but relationship-wise, we parted in December. Okay. After he cheated the people of MDC.
Okay. So Senator Komichi is saying that they parted ways with Senator Monzora, and this has been happening. They parted ways since December 2022. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so if you're wondering what his position is, there you have it. Senator Komichi has answered that they parted ways. And recently you held a press conference at the media center, and you declared yourself as the leader of the United MDC. And can you just take us to what the build-up to that day, and to you saying you are the leader of the United MDC?
Politically, I was born and bred by MDC, and I rose through the ranks of MDC from the provincial chairperson of Mat North in Matabeleland, and I was involved in a lot of activism during Morgan Tsvangirai's time, even after Morgan Tsvangirai's time, and I like MDC so much. I am today as a product of the MDC. So when MDC is failing like what it's doing under Douglas Monzora, I get hurt. I really feel bad, and I then said, why should I continue to keep quiet when things are going wrong like this?
Okay.
Let me give you an analogy of an experienced pilot who happened to be the passenger on that particular day. And the plane is flying. The pilot in charge is struck by a stroke, handicapped, can't communicate, can't operate the plane. So the plane is about to nosedive into the Atlantic Ocean or into the Kilimanjaro Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
A normal pilot who is a passenger would act to save the plane and to save the people's lives. He would run into the cockpit, remove the ailing pilot, take charge of the pilot, take controls of the pilot, and save the plane and the people of that plane from death.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did on the 14th of June, when I was cocksure and quite sure that the man in charge of MDC had totally failed. And I had to jump in and remove him from power. He's no longer the head of MDC. He's just playing with our party name. No one is following him. He has no followers throughout the whole country. All provinces have abandoned him. Right now, individuals here and their friends, probably they are still calling him the president. But majority of the MDC cadres have already abandoned him. So I took charge. So when I then called the party I'm leading today, United Movement for Democratic Change, is a rebranding.
Oh, it's a rebranding.
Rebranding, but the party is still MDC.
Okay.
We have history in MDC. We once ran as MDCT. There's no party called MDCT. It's just a rebranding.
Okay.
We also ran with the name MDC Alliance. We don't have a party called MDC Alliance in Zimbabwe. It's just a rebranding strategy. So the United Movement for Democratic Change is a call for all those people who had been subjected or abused by certain leaders, but who have got MDC blood in their veins, to come back and reunite and rebuild the organization. So this is actually a call and invitation of all people that know. Basically, MDC represents the opposition. So it's actually inviting all those people who belong to an opposition, not the ZANU-PF light that we saw under Douglas Monzora, where you cannot tell whether it's really ZANU-PF or is opposition, and that was really pathetic. Okay. We are hardcore opposition people ourselves, got history. I maintained the hardcore opposition mantra, even if I was with Douglas Monzora. Remember when the two amendments were brought to Parliament by ZANU-PF ministers, I voted against both amendments.
Okay.
I said, no, I cannot vote with ZANU-PF. Monzora voted with ZANU-PF and some of the members of Parliament. Actually, I was the only one who stood against.
Okay.
Even the PVO bill, when it came, remember very well, I was the only member of Parliament or a senator who objected against the notorious PVO bill. So I maintained the status. I never went to the State House. I think Monzora went. I never went to the Hiroseka. Monzora went. The independence. Not that I don't respect our independence as a Zimbabwean person, or I don't. Nor do I also disrespect the whole officials. No.
But
I am a pro independence guy.
Okay.
Pro freedom guy. I'm actually a Pan-Africanist. I actually want to wage a new politics in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
I want to wage the Pan-African opposition. I don't want this Western type of opposition politics. So, but as an opposition leader, you don't need to confuse your people.
Okay.
Because politics is defined into two. You don't have to mistake yourself. You have to know whether you are in opposition or you are with the ruling party. There are no people in between these two populations.
So you mentioned that United MDC is a rebranding, and you're calling for people who have MDC blood within their veins, and but also want this also in a certain way bring more disruption, as I think people are now being forced to choose between, because even the other opposition members that we have were once MDC. But then they, I don't know if you call it rebranded or then formed their own parties. So how best, what's the way forward for United MDC? Because so are people who were under Monzora then coming to United MDC, or it's new members totally?
We are inviting all. Those ones that were under Monzora and they have seen light, they are all invited. Also,
they were in the dark.
The new people that were not, that were neither in ZANU-PF, Triple C, or like yourself, we are inviting you to the UMDC. We are rebuilding a new opposition political party with the new mantra. I have told you I'm going to go Pan-African.
Okay.
Pan-African, and I want to model the new politics of our country.
Okay.
In which I'm a qualified opposition leader in the terms that I went through all the lessons which Morgan Tsvangirai taught us. And we did a lot of opposition activism throughout the times of Morgan Tsvangirai, which then went away with Morgan. I want to resuscitate that. I want to make sure that we reconnect with Morgan as the opposition mantra.
Okay.
People used to be very happy during Morgan Tsvangirai's time. People were predictive and confident that if he coughs, ZANU-PF will do something. Now, at the moment, if you look at my sister, opposition is there, but I don't think it's the best. Because ZANU-PF is relaxed. ZANU-PF has forgotten.
So you're saying the opposition these days is not keeping the ruling party on their toes?
Not at all. ZANU-PF is relaxed. Right now, let me ask you, with the cost of living, the prices that are going up as high as they are today, the parallel market, the way it is roaming around this country, the devaluation of the dollar, look at it. Right now, if you look at the salaries of the civil servant, last month their pay slips came with around $65,000, $68,000, and divide by 9. How many US dollars are there? Less than $7, less than $8. And the opposition leaders are quiet. They are smiling. They are looking at 23 August. Morgan Tsvangirai will not allow that.
I see.
And I will not allow that.
Okay.
Because that is not right. The purpose of the opposition leader is to shake the ruling party, is to shake the government in power. Don't be afraid of being arrested or tortured or what. No, man. When you're an opposition leader,
but I think I saw a clip of Advocate Nelson Chamisa saying that people want us to talk and we will not talk. And I'm not sure of the right context of it, but then he's simply saying that despite what people are saying about them being quiet, Triple C being quiet, but they are there and they're coming in full force.
Yes, of course.
So that's the strategy you're against. You're saying make ZANU-PF jump.
We're going to use the new strategy. It's not new, it's old.
Okay.
But it's realistic. Strategies of opposition political parties. Let me give you a very simple analogy which you are very familiar with. The Son of God, Jesus, came to introduce the new world, sent by the Lord, the Almighty. All the powers were invested in Jesus. He introduced the new world. Basically, from the faith point of view, improvement of the Old Testament. That's what he said. But there were changes. He met with the great resistance from the powers that were there. The kings who were there resisted him. But Jesus did not just keep quiet. Jesus did not just preach or prophesy. Jesus went on head on against the emperors of that time, knowing very well that he had been sent by his forefather, the Almighty Lord. But he confronted them. At the end of the day, he was crucified.
So in short, you're simply saying,
for our sins.
You're simply saying
crucified for our sins. And this is the reason why today, my dear sister,
yes,
I kneel down to pray Jesus. That is why today, when you see me putting on my white garments, and I climb the mountain, I am saying, Lord, you died for me. He did not done that. I was not going to do that.
Okay.
So when we transform that biblical interpretation to leadership, when you take leadership to save the people of your country, do not talk about death.
Okay.
Do not talk about arrest. Do not. The armed struggle has got bodies in mountains, in rivers, in Mozambique, in Zambia, because they had made a decision to bring change to Zimbabwe, and it came. So when you're an opposition leader, you are affected by fears of being arrested.
Maybe they're fighting a different war. They're fighting a different. They're not resorting to. They cannot resort to the guns like the war veterans did. The freedom fighters did.
We're not taking up guns right now. We're not taking up guns. Jesus didn't take up guns. He sacrificed himself. That is where I'm coming.
So you're saying that's where the lake is.
Services and sacrifice. This is what I saw and learned in Morgan Tsvangirai. Okay. Morgan Tsvangirai went through hell. He was...
so he sacrificed. And he was a servant of the people.
Servant of the people.
Okay.
He taught me that.
And in the opposition that we have today, we don't have people who are willing, leaders are willing to sacrifice and be servants.
Let me tell you, the ZANU-PF government or ZANU-PF party will never reform unless if we sacrifice ourselves. Remember, in 2008, we took head on. Probably many people know that I was in charge of the operations termed Democratic Resistance Campaign. I was in charge of that operation. And we were victims, we were tortured. Many people were arrested. I'm aware about that because I was in charge. I was the head of that operation. We brought ZANU-PF to his knees. We said we would drag Robert Mugabe to the negotiating table, screaming and crying, to negotiate with Morgan Tsvangirai and MDC for establishment of an interim government which must ensure a new constitution and we want free and fair elections with 4 objectives, which we led in 2007. And we achieved all of them, 4 of them. 1, dragging Mugabe to the negotiating table, screaming and crying. And he did that. And we formed an interim government, GNU. And we wrote a new constitution, which ushered the free and fair elections, which we won in 2008. ZANU-PF was beaten down. And that is what leaders should be prepared to.
Okay.
And this is what I talked to, even when I was with Nelson, I raised this. Nelson, my brother, if you were to effect change in Zimbabwe, let us do what Jesus did.
Sacrifice. And be a servant.
It was 70 people. When I also went to Douglas Monzora, I raised the same thing. There is no way we will achieve anything 2 weeks after the EOC Congress, 2020 Congress. I raised with him. We cannot achieve an opposition influence unless if we lead from the front.
Okay.
So that is within me. That is within me. I got that capacity. I got the know-how. I'm not afraid of death because I want to save the people of Zimbabwe. I want to bring change. It is possible to bring change to the people of Zimbabwe, but you cannot do it alone. You do it along with people.
So, okay, that was a mouthful. And he's talking about that the opposition that we have at the moment is failing to keep the ruling party, ZANU-PF, on their toes. They're simply, if they were doing what they ought to do as the opposition, then ZANU-PF would not be as relaxed as they are. And I'm sure the opposition would beg to differ. But whatever your thoughts or your comments are, please remember to put it in our comments, in our comment sections. Moving right along. With the formation of the United MDC, do you see yourself still very active in politics after August 23?
Why not?
You'll still be there.
I'm still very young. I look old. I'm looking older relative to you, but not to politics.
Okay.
President Mnangagwa became the president at the age of more than 78 years. His compatriot Joe Biden also at 78. But if you go back to a history, Joe Biden joined politics at the age of around 24, 25, 26. The President Mnangagwa joined the politics at the age of, I think, less than 18 years. So I'm still young.
And you still be there?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so
I'm actually now matured, ready for the job.
Okay.
A lot of experience.
Okay.
I can now talk about a lot of challenges. I'm not like a person who's just
from an experience point of view.
No, this is I want to redirect politics with a lot of experience.
Okay, so just in case you also had this question, viewers, Senator Komichi is saying, I'm here to stay. And he's saying that after August 23, he's still going to be there, as he is still very young and still wants to cause change and bring about political change in the country of Zimbabwe. And you mentioned you parted ways, and you also mentioned with Douglas Monzora, and you mentioned that he's losing support across the nation of Zimbabwe. So, in your view, is Senator Monzora still in control of the party? Because losing support is one thing, but you could still be in control.
The party is not about the name or about the building.
Okay.
The party is about the people.
Okay.
Statistically, you saw what happened in the by-elections of 22. The party got zero. People don't vote for the party in terms of the name, by the way.
Okay.
They vote for the leader. The party don't really follow whether MDC or Triple C or ZANU-PF. People follow the leader who inspires them, who gives them direction in leadership and the confidence. That is all what people follow. So with the statistics of 2022 March, we can conclusively say Comrade Monzora has no followers. And then he remained with the residual of the leadership which was following him. They finally abandoned him. If you had the microscopic ear or eye, you could see that right now that is going solo. Many provinces have abandoned them. Many provinces have reconnected with the United Movement for Democratic Change. Many provinces are really, they're actually calling for a national congress. They want to demonstrate and show that they are no longer following Senator Monzora. He's aware about that. He's actually shaky. He knows that if he's an honest person, he would simply surrender the MDC property at the headquarters, surrender peacefully to the rightful leadership, which we are. We are here to take the party to some greater heights.
Okay.
He knows that. So if some of us really take charge of everything that in terms of infrastructure, we can do better.
Okay. So you mentioned that people don't just follow the name of a party. It's not about who's ZANU-PF. It's not about ZANU-PF. It's not about Triples. It's not about MDC. But it's rather also about the person who's leading that particular party. So Douglas Monzora's way of doing things, is that or his way of operating, is this what has then led to this particular downfall? And he's not, because if we're now saying that he's not a fit leader, how then did he get to that place before all of this?
The MDC that we're talking about right now once provided a prime minister, once provided the majority in parliament and the speaker, once provided the majority of urban mayors in Zimbabwe. This MDC we're talking about used to be the hope of the people, the darling of the people. People would do. The MDC we are talking about was once a household name for all Zimbabweans, rural and urban. It was a sweet thing to hear about because there was Morgan Tsvangirai. With Morgan Tsvangirai's demise and death, it is now scattered all over. Even when Nelson took over, he competed very competitively in 2018, being the MDC Alliance leader by then, because his name was also a brand.
Okay.
Things changed when Douglas Monzora took off. The same MDC Alliance, the same structure, the same everything, which really kept ZANU-PF on toes, is now nowhere to be heard about, talked about. So the name, the behavior of the president of an organization matters most. Just like it, as I told you, the behavior of Jesus Christ mattered most.
Okay.
So that is what lagged in
Douglas Monzora.
Douglas Monzora, in the eyes of the opposition people, behaved like a ZANU-PF friend, partner. As I was trying to tell you one thing, there are two families in opposition. There's a family of the opposition and the family of the ruling party. these two families do not interact or hear each
Mingle.
other. Their languages are different.
Okay.
When you join the opposition, you must have certain language of an opposition leader. When you join the ruling party, you must also have a certain language. Douglas did not choose between the two languages which one to follow. He was neither ruling party nor opposition. So the ruling party people said, "Who are you?" They kept him a bit. The opposition people all said, "Who are you?" They kept him a bit. So when he went for the by-elections, the opposition people voted for the opposition cadres. Ruling party people voted for the ruling party cadres. So since there are no people between the ruling party and the opposition, he got zeros. So he missed the theory of the theory of opposition politics. He lacked quite a lot.
Okay.
Subject matter
Okay.
of the opposition theory. He didn't understand it. So some of us, we understand. We have already declared that United Movement for Democratic Change is an opposition political party. The language of the opposition is what we're going to carry from now onwards.
Okay.
Who is our opponent in politics? Is the ruling party. ZANU-PF is our opponent. Simply because they are the ones that are in charge of the natural resources in the economy of the country. And they are failing to convert the natural resources of the country to the benefit of the people
country
that whom we represent. So when we don't confront other opposition partners.
You
confront the ruling party. Because they are the ones vakabata chingwa. Tiri kuti chingwa chamakabata ichi ipewa vana veZimbabwe vaje vari kuramba kuchiva. Saka tiri kuti imi varume muri kukara ipewa vana venyika tova demonstratera kana kuti tovatuka kana kutoita zvatei tichiita. Kuvasheka kuti vazive kuti basa ravo kusevha vana venyika.
Okay.
Douglas did not do that. He went on to dine and drink. It's the hero's haircut, independence.
Even Jesus wined. You gave Jesus as an example. Jesus dined and wined with sinners.
Jesus hit people in his father's nigiri when we were drinking and playing with his father's house. He took Chamboko and started beating them. He was very clear on what Jesus wanted. Yes, of course. When we talk about leadership, a leader I cannot vouch that Morgan Tsvangirai never met up with Mr. Mugabe during his time. Okay. I cannot vouch. But I don't know about it. That's a clever leader. I cannot vouch that Joe Biden does not talk to Putin right now. But they talk. But in a strategic manner. In a clever manner.
Okay.
Don't be so reckless such that the people end up getting
wondering. Okay. Thank you very much, Senator, for those remarks and just saying that, people need to know if you're the opposition, stick to being the opposition. You cannot be whining and dining with the ruling party because you're opposing that ruling party. So how are you found whining and dining? So he's saying that his actions Senator Munzora's actions are the reason why he's even failed to even get some candidates across the country, and hence right now he does not have any support. Anyway, we've got a few more questions, and then we'll end this so that we can let Senator Komichi go on with his day. So do you think that a united opposition will defeat the ruling party?
Yes, of course. It is always obvious where forces are united. If you plan properly, you can actually give hard time to
the ruling party.
My example is this. In 2018, with the united MDC and MDC Alliance, you could see what MDC Alliance did. For the first time in our history, we crossed over the 2 million mark. Even with the most popular leader of our time, Morgan Tsvangirai, we had never reached 2 million mark. But before Morgan Tsvangirai passed on, he had come out with an idea of an MDC Alliance, in which we collected the many political parties, about 7 political parties. And this strategy helped us to campaign over many people or many organizations and so forth. And we put all the votes for the president in one basket. And this 2 million mark was actually a strategic figure, which was pronounced in 2014. that come 2018, we're going to hit more than 2 million votes.
Okay.
It was not by coincidence. We worked towards it. And when 2018 elections came, we actually succeeded and got more than 2 million votes. It was because we took so many forces together.
And brought them together.
So this is exactly what I believe in. Let's see what happens on the 23rd of March. But I believe from 23rd March on going onwards, I shall be the voice for unity. Voice for the unity of the opposition political party.
Okay.
I shall interact with main leaders. And it's not about me being the president or Nelson being anyone. It's about the freedom of the people of Zimbabwe. That is all what I want.
You care about.
It could be missing now. But what I want to play, the role that I want to play right now is the president of the United Movement for Democratic Change.
Okay.
Is that I did not manage to put my name as a candidate. The main reason is that I was not properly organized in terms of my party. So I didn't want to waste my time to cheat the people that I was going to make miracles here. Because, and also the system that was used by the ZANU-PF institutions, SEC, for very high nomination fees. They are very prohibitive. It's not good for a country to go to.
So do you want it scraped off, or do you want a better amount? If there's a lower amount, what would be a reasonable nomination fee?
At least an administration amount. We've been paying these amounts before. In 2018, many other years we've been paying, but they were not prohibitive.
Okay.
At least this is what we should do with respect. Let's respect the right of the people to be elected and elect. You don't need to be bourgeoisie to be a president. You have to have the ideas, the vision. You don't need to be a bourgeoisie to be a member of parliament, because in parliament you don't need members of parliament don't do developmental issues. The issues of development are done by the cabinet. It is the cabinet where you look for people that are highly qualified. You need the people that are able to represent people, the Chinotimbas and so forth. You need that kind of thing. So all those things are. But anyway, that is not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that I didn't put myself as the president simply because I knew that I was not going to do much, because the party was just young and I need to have time to rebuild it. But what I can call for now,
is there an opposition?
As an opposition leader, is to put forward my vision.
Okay.
Let me share my vision with you. Having looked at the economic crisis of this country, I have found out, and I got evidence on the table. The case of Zimbabwe from 1980 to today, we got instances where our economy grew. Our economy grew in 1980. Our economy slightly grew in 1987. Our economy grew in 2009. And in between other periods, our economy never grew. What was unique about these three instances that I've mentioned? The unique element of these things that I've mentioned is that we worked together as Zimbabweans in all instances. From the War of Liberation, no matter how much we hated each other, ZANU, ZAPU, Ian Douglas Smith, Muzorewa, we formed the government of national unity.
And the economy.
And do you know, there are three elements, three core values that we established by so doing. It was unity, it was peace, and we had shared vision. All Zimbabweans united, had peace and focused on the same vision. And the vision I'm talking about is economic vision. In 1987, again with the Matabeleland people being victims of Gukurahundi. If you look at the Matabeleland region in terms of the economic development, suffered quite a lot. But in 1987, when Dr. Joshua Nkomo and President Robert Mugabe came together, if you go back to Matabeleland by that time, they achieved unity, they achieved peace, they achieved shared vision, and development started to be sited in various parts of Matabeleland. Let's go back to the experience that you are also aware. I know you were a small girl, but you know what happened in 2007. Your mother, your brother, your fathers and mother were actually quintillionaires. I was a quintillionaire in my bank account. I was worth quintillionaire, but valueless.
Okay.
Which means we reached the bottom end of the Atlantic Ocean.
When it comes to
Economics crisis. The bottom end of the Atlantic Ocean, the deepest part of the Atlantic Ocean. That's where Zimbabwe went. We went for an election. There was violence. But
isn't that always the case?
Through efforts, people came together. A GNU was formed. What did we achieve again? Unity, peace, and shared vision. And some people are saying, within 2 weeks, Tagatakwa na Maripama ATM. Some people said, within 1 month, we were able to earn $100. And as I move around the people, they will tell you, mukadzi wandina ndakamurora pa GNU. Moti andinayo ndakaitenga pa GNU. Imba andinayo ndakaitenga pa GNU. So when I then looked at those things, I said, is this not the form of African governance system that we must constitutionalize? Okay. Then I said, how did our old people, our ancestors used to live before colonization? I then learned that they used to do what you call inshona nimbe, kind of ilima indevele, or humwe pachizezuru. What was the purpose? Was to take care of the vulnerables, such as those that had no cattle, that had no plows, that were single mothers and single fathers. The community would sit down and plow for them, cultivate for them, harvest for them, so that at the end of the process, everyone has got something in.
Okay.
To me, I said, this is the GNU which we must promote right now. Okay. So the leaders that are going for this 23 election, I want to appeal. Kuna wa Mnangagwa, President Mnangagwa. Ndogo apila kuna mpana wangu Chamisa. Ndogo apila kuna Kasukuwere. Na wamwe vese vari kuparticipate election. Pindu waini mwe we national government we inclusive government. Pindu waini mwe we GNU. Pindu waini mwe kubatana. Atidi kuona bloodshed after elections. Batanai namu yono Mzimbabwe ndiyo the elephant in the room. Okay. Umwe ngabate msingato, umwe ngabate muswe, umwe ngabate muromo. Tinewisira pasi. The moment we destroy poverty, there will be peace in this country. There will be unity in this country, and there will be vision, and there will be common vision. So I'm inviting the leadership. It's my plea. I want you guys to think about the government of national unity. Put it in your manifesto. Triple C is a manifesto at GNU. There's an PF is a manifesto inside GNU manifesto menu. So that at the end of the day, let's share power to destroy poverty. If we do not share power, poverty will overwhelm us. Okay. It will be destroyed by poverty.
Okay. As you are running out of time, this is the second from last question. Given, would you, by any chance, as you're speaking of unity, would you by any chance unite with Nelson Chamisa, since you are talking about a united opposition? Would you unite with Advocate Nelson Chamisa?
I want the people of Zimbabwe to take advantage of my nature. I was born with no grain of hatred. That's my nature. As I stand right now, I don't have an enemy in Zimbabwe, or outside Zimbabwe. Those ones that would hurt me, you hate an innocent man. An innocent man who would never ever dream of any other black person as an enemy.
And has no enemies.
I don't have. Okay. What I want to see is the united Zimbabwe, peaceful Zimbabwe, common vision, prosperous Zimbabwe. That's my nature. Those that have worked with me, they know that.
Okay, and in our closing remarks, this is my last question to you. I'm going to try to be very diplomatic about this question. Who is your preferred, if you've got any, presidential candidate? I think he's even, before I even finish my question, he's even gasping to answer it. Who is your preferred presidential candidate and why?
I have already introduced the role that I'm going to play. I want to be above political contestations. Okay. I want to be the unifier. I'm going to be the unifier. I'm going to approach organizations such as churches, organizations, so that we help each other to bring these protagonists together. So if I start pointing my finger right now that I support X, Y, so I will not be able to achieve my goal.
United opposition.
I want to be unified. I'm not sure that I unify by nature. And this is the role that I'm going to play. I want to unify Mnangagwa na Chamisa na Kasukuwere na Maduku. Ndoda kuti ndione kuti kana Chamisa rea win election ngaite president. But mpana usasiya Mnangagwa. Kana Mnangagwa makaita president, please musasiya mpana. The same applies, the same word goes to Maduku, goes to Kasukuwere, goes to another president. Atidi kurana nyika ine from a selfish point of view. Nyika ine ya prove a point iri clear kuti kana usina kubatana na vamwe, nyika ino yafeka budirira economically. Yakabudirira pana Mugabe na Watsvangirai, pana Vangomo na Mugabe, pana Mugabe na pana Vangomo na Smith yakabudirira nyika ino. So evidence tinayo. And wherever they've done that, for example, Rwanda, I want to give you an example of Rwanda. The Paul Kagame, no matter what people can talk about him, but he's running a cabinet of inclusivity. They're about people, some say 5 parties, some say 11, I don't know, but he has got an inclusive government. Because by establishing inclusive government, you ensure unity, you ensure peace, and you ensure shared vision. If you do not have an inclusive government, you then fall into the Newton's law of motion number 3. Which says if two forces of equal magnitude interact in opposite direction, there shall be no motion. What actually results is the friction, heat, and disaster. So similarly, in a political situation where the opposition and the ruling party are of equal magnitude and interact in opposite direction, there shall be no economic motion. What only results out of it is conflict,
more poverty,
and sometimes civil war. And look at Africa. The whole of Africa now is a victim of this lack of appreciation of Newton's law of motion. So what I'm putting forward as the new vision, is the new idea, is let's respect what we're taught in science by the Newton's law. Let us bring the forces together and pull in the same direction. We will accelerate economically, and every person would benefit. I am a child of unity, peace, and love.
Thank you very much, Senator Komichi. And there you heard it, our citizens. If you're wondering where he stands, he said, as Senator Komichi has said, I'm more of the unifier. I'm not about the contestation that's happening within the political arena. All I want is unity, and to ensure that as Zimbabweans, we all benefit when all the parties and all our leaders come together and be a joint force, and we attack the elephant in the room, which is our economy. As we all know, the parallel market is going crazy, and each day the different prices, inflation is skyrocketing, and it seems our economy continues to plump downhill. But maybe 2023 is the year that Zimbabwe will finally find change. If there's hope for Israel, then maybe there's hope for Zimbabwe. This was another episode of The Big Talk on Citizens Voice Network. Be sure to follow us on all digital platforms. Share, like, retweet, and post to all your friends and let them know that there's a big thing happening. Until next episode, it's goodbye for now. Goodbye.